I enjoy making giant versions of tiny objects, like this giant version of a lip balm, which is actually fully functional. 3D printing has made this kind of project a lot easier, and I thought it was about time that I moved on to my next idea. If you are not familiar, this little pink thing is a plastic clamshell package for a roll of bubble gum. It's just a thing I recall from my childhood with infantile fondness. So this is something that I wanted to try making bigger. A lot bigger. Well, there you go. Opens up at the top, and then you've got your roll of gum. It's got cutting bits over here, so when you have the gum out, you can chop off the amount that you want. And look at this, you can just see this whole like measuring tape worth of bubble gum. Now, my lip balm over here is 1,000 times the volume of regular lip balm. That's actually a little too big, I think, for this. I did the math, and it would just end up being like, the problem is really that it would be so big that I couldn't really lift it up once the gum was inside it, because yes, I'm not just making the container, I'm making the gum as well. The size I ended up going with is 6 by 6 by 6 times as large, which is 216 times the volume, and with the amount of gum that's in one of these, once I multiply that by 216, we're at about 25 pounds of gum, which is definitely the biggest roll of gum I will have ever seen. First step is we have to model this shape on a computer so we can print it out.
Designing this to accurately match the original shape really pushed the limits of my 3D modeling ability, but I think I did a pretty good job in the end. Then it was off to print, and of course this is going to be huge, so we chopped it up into lots of smaller pieces and printed each of those individually.
While those pieces are printing, I want to tell you about today's sponsor, Circle. Now, maybe you've heard of Circle, but you don't really get what it's about yet. Well, here it is. It's a system that lets you put regular water into a bottle, then you take a flavor cartridge, screw it onto the top, set your flavor for the amount you want with the little dial at the top, and then you drink flavored water. It's that easy. Some people out there don't like drinking plain unflavored water. Circle's goal is to help them out. They have over 100 flavors, refreshing fruity blends or coffees and teas. Also with Circle, you keep one of the best benefits of water, which is 0 calories, no sugar. You are in full control of your flavor. Turn the dial one way, only a little bit of flavor. Turn it the other way, tons of flavor. Each Circle cartridge contains an equivalent amount of flavor to 6 20-ounce conventional flavored bottled beverages. Results will vary based on your personal dial settings, of course. And of course, by reusing the same bottle over and over, you've got 84% less plastic used and 96% less carbon emissions from shipping. Ooh, that's really good. Use the link down in the description or the QR code that's on the screen right now to save up to 35% off of your first purchase. Okay, that was a lot of 3D printing. Everything turned out really well, and now I need to remove just so many supports. Now, it is time to glue all of these parts together. I'll have a top half and a bottom half when I'm done. Let's glue some stuff together. Oh, that is great. I love it. I love it. A little bit more to do on the body. I've got some gaps that I think I can close up by heating up the plastic a little bit and then just sort of smooshing it into place with some glue. If that doesn't work, I can try using a 3D pen with some matching filament to sort of fill in some of those gaps. Overall, I am loving how this is looking. Those two pieces go together and those go on that. As I feared, the actual container here has these little tiny flanges of plastic that stick out, and that's a locking mechanism that clips closed, and it works just great when it's this size. Plastic flexibility and pliability doesn't always scale up exactly right, so these are those same notches. You can see I've got them on the sides here, but this plastic at 216 times the volume, it's not quite as flexible in the same spot, so I'm going to have to slightly modify these. I'll use some files and take them down just a little bit until I get to a point where they'll actually like interface with each other and lock in place. They're not there yet. All the pieces roughly assembled together, but I don't like these gaps. I gotta do something about them. So what I've got is a 3D printing pen. If you're not familiar with these, they get hot at the end. You put the same filament that 3D printers use, and then it feeds out hot plastic. I am very beginner. I'm just gonna be trying to fill these gaps, and I'm mostly gonna be doing it by trying to fill in from the back side. So I'm gonna have this like pressed against the workbench, fill in from the back side and count on the semi-smooth surface of my workbench to keep it from going everywhere. I don't even know if this is gonna work. I've never tried it before. It's overflowing a little bit and making this sort of like weld bead on the back. I'm okay with that. I might try and clean some of it off, but in the end, that is on the inside. It's not gonna be very visible. How is this looking on the other side? Not great, not terrible. All right, I'm gonna try filling it from this side too, see if I can't get a smoother result than that. Oh, it's not coming out very smooth. Well, the good news is that it is definitely filling the gap. The bad news is it doesn't really look very smooth, and it's just gonna take a lot of cleanup work. With the pieces of the container all assembled, it's time to try and make them smoother. And the best way to do this would be to spend a long time using sandpaper and like auto body filler, and then more sandpaper, and then primer and sandpaper and primer sanding forever. Or I can skip like all of that and get a result that's pretty good by using this stuff that's called XTC 3D. This is designed for smoothing out 3D prints, and it just makes a nice thin epoxy coating over them. And I'm gonna do that instead because it's faster. Is it gonna be perfect? No. Is it gonna be good enough? We'll find out. I've never actually used this before. The resin is cured, it's looking great, extremely shiny. It looks like it's still wet, but it's not. These are actually the wrong color of pink, so now let's paint them. If my calculations are correct, we're going to need a lot of gum. A lot of gum. This was the very cheapest method of buying gum that I could find, but I need to find a way to turn this shape of gum into the strips of gum, or single strip of gum. That means I need to unwrap all of these. All 2,660 pieces. Let's get started.
One hour later.
The two individual halves are looking really good. I'm very happy with how they're turning out. However, they still can't properly open and close for two reasons. One, I don't have a hinge on there yet. Two, all of the paint and the resin that I used to coat it has like formed some little drips that are just like right on the openings. So that's my goal. I'm gonna add a hinge and clean all of this up so I can actually open and close it like I'm supposed to be able to. Give that maybe 15 minutes to really make sure it's cured. All right. I talked before about how I needed to like shave some things down so it would actually latch together. I think now is the time to do that after I clean up all those edge drips. Somehow. I believe we now, haha, close. Stays closed, pops right open. Perfect. Nice resounding clang sound as it closes. Ah, I like it. Now the very eagle-eyed of you out there may have noticed that this is not the right shape of gum. So I have to find a way to turn this shape into a long strip. And the best way I've found with that in my experiments is to wash it, dry it, warm it up, and then when it's like kind of hot, you can squish it into a new shape. So that's what I have to do with like 25 pounds of gum. Okay, well, hopefully that's dry enough. Let's put it in the oven. I've got my oven set about as low as it will go, and I'm just trying to heat this up until it's at about 150 degrees. That seems to be where it gets really smushy.
5 minutes later.
Well, squishes together. It's a little stringy. This may go poorly. This is only 10 minutes. I think 10 minutes is too long. Just gonna set this down for a second. Pull all the extra gum off my glove. You know what? It's fine. It's fine. Instead of grabbing it with the bare gloves, I use a little bit of powdered sugar on my gloves. How's that? How's that? Oh, a million times better, at least on the first grab. Okay, that makes it possible. Still very sticky and messy, but much, much more usable. First batch, doing all right. Time for another batch. I'm only gonna leave this one in for like 5 minutes, see how that does. Put this one in for a little less time. 8 minutes seems to be maybe a good amount. Sugar your gum board frequently.
Two hours later. 1 hour later.
All of my gum is now turned into flat sheets, which is a good step, but obviously I want it in a big roll. What I need to do is see how well I can take these sheets, connect them end to the end, and then roll them up. I'll cut off ends if I need to. I'll use some water. I'll use a heat gun to re-soften gum. I don't know all of what it's gonna take. I gotta try and figure it out. Let's see what happens if we just use some water. You know what? That seems to be a decent seal. Time to begin the roll. Hope that my gum doesn't crack too much in the process. Okay, here's where my join was. Yeah, that's coming apart a little bit. So I need to do a little touch up. A little sprinkling of powdered sugar. And keep on rolling. All right. Oh yeah, look at that. That's a nice seal. Well, there we go. That worked quite nicely. That's a big old roll of gum. A lifetime supply. Ooh, this needs to go in the container. All right, how do I get the gum in the container? Okay, so this is the top, that's the bottom. Oh, I hope you fit. Oh, good. This is so much gum. So much powdered sugar on the gum. Okay, there we go. All right, we are very close. Really the last step. It's the actual gum. It's got labels on both the front and the back. Now, I printed off some labels. I made them my own. They're a little bit different than the official one, but the spirit is there. Ooh, with the labels on. So I do have a front and a back label for this. It's very nice, very official looking. It's perfect. I just want to see what the total weight of my entire gum and container is. I've got a nice little scale here. Let's see what we get up to. All right, we are topping out just over 30 pounds. 30 pounds and like 4 ounces. Not bad. Yeah. Pull the gum, pull, come on, gum. I'm gonna try and chop it off. That's already like a week's worth of gum. All right, little guillotine. Chop! Come on, chop. There, you know, just there it is. Perfect execution. Couldn't ask for anything better. And then you've just got a very reasonable amount of gum. I don't want to eat all of it. That's so much gum. I can't even finish. We're just gonna put that right there. Yep. You just rest right there. Okay. Perfect. so much gum. I just took like 2 bites off the end of this. I'm the kind of person who usually takes a stick of gum and then tears it in half and eats half of it at a time, so that's a lot to me. Ugh. This is one of the greatest oversized things I've ever built. I'm very proud of how it came out. It looks super, super good. Is there anything else you want to see blown up giant?
As always, a huge thank you shout out to all of our supporters on Patreon. We could not do these videos without you. If you're interested in joining the Patreon supporters, the link for that is in the description.